Hello.
Hello, buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes and buenas tardes, LEC community. My name is Delia. We are doing Latinx Educator Awards nominee spotlight, and here at the Latinx Education Collaborative, where we increase representation in Latinx educators K through 12. This is our fifth year, Mirta, or actually fourth year with the Latinx
Bravo.
Educator Awards. So I'm really, really excited to hear your story and your take on what this nomination means to you. So let's get started by reintroducing yourself to the community, because you're out there in our Ask an Educator. But go ahead and reintroduce yourself to the LEC community. Tell us who you are, where you're from.
My name is Mirta Bradner. I teach in a rural county in Caroline County in Maryland, in Ridgely, at North Carolina High School. I've been with this county now for 20 of my 26 years of teaching. I teach world languages, Spanish. I teach Spanish 3, 4, AP, and Heritage Speakers 1 and 2. I have a full course this year. I am originally from San Juan, Puerto Rico. My parents were Cuban refugees as my brother, and I came to school in the States. I always spoke Spanish. Spanish was my first language. English was not really spoken at home, which I think, what a great way to connect with your students when you have been there. You have been part of that language learning process as well. This year, I am Caroline County's Teacher of the Year, which I'm super proud of. I also feel that it's important for my students to see someone who is representing them and is visible and is there and is value in their community. So the first time there's a minority as Caroline County Teacher of the Year in the 20 years plus that they've been running this program. Could not hear you there, Delia.
Got it. It was muted. Sorry about that. So you were nominated for which award again?
The Educator Award?
No, the recent one in Maryland.
Oh, so the recent one, I was just found out on Thursday that the Maryland Education Association, also called MSEA, the board of directors will be awarding me, or we're giving, I will be this year's recipient of the Minority Recognition Award for Education in the state of Maryland. So I'm super proud of that. And I think that's, I think commitment for serving my community and making some changes that actually, as an AP advocate, have helped our students in the state of Maryland. And hopefully that spills over. And, when I think about LEC, what is done for me, you have given me a platform for me to be able to show where my school is, where my county is. And for you guys, as someone who you are, where you're based in Kansas City, to be able to now be part of our Caroline County community in this small rural county near the Chesapeake Bay, that's also amazing, because now your influence and your love and your respect for educators is just going from state to state to state, and it's reaching us in different places that we did not think we were seeing.
Right. Thank you. And I agree with what you're saying, because we recently, our CEO, Edgar Palacios, he's reached out in Indianapolis. And a lot of folks don't realize, like, there is a Latinx community there, and they're thriving, and there are a lot of Latino educators there. So they had kind of like a mini series or a mini version of Evolucion there. So look out, we might be in Maryland. Maybe we could make that connection.
And that would be amazing. Also, we have right now, I actually wanted to know the exact numbers. We have probably a quarter of our students are speakers in our school, or Latino, considered same as heritage or Latino. That has grown incredibly in the last few years, only to be growing even further as we move into our elementary students, from the different schools, move into the middle school and the high school. So I think that that's another important thing, to have teachers and educators and staff to represent you. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I was the only person here. Now we have a full-time translator. We have another teacher who's Hispanic, we have somebody from Ecuador, somebody from Puerto Rico, myself, and Mr. Rosario from Puerto Rico as our translator. So think about how that feels for our students who are coming to our school and our classes. They're seeing people like them who understand them, who can help them, who also understand their struggles that they have every day.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. I mean, you and I have had a great conversation recently about that too. Just um, and I realized my privilege growing up in Chicago, and our communities are pretty segregated, especially in the 90s. And I had lots and lots of representation. I mean, my whole administration, they were Puerto Rican, all of them. And
Boricuas.
yes, and doctors like Dr. Escoitia and Dr. Collazo. And so we saw that.
Yeah.
Huh?
Makes an impact on you.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So speaking of, um, oopsie, that's the wrong question. Let me just say it out loud. What does being nominated for Latinx Educator Award mean for you? So you were nominated. Can you please remind me? And I apologize. Was it community impact? I
think
can look it up.
impact, yes.
It was I think it was the impact.
You know, I know that this is going to sound so Miss Universe. It's just being here that I feel so special. But the truth is, being here means a lot to me. It's very humbling because this is a job that I love every day. This is my second career. I did something else for 5 years before I was a teacher. And we know we don't do it for the glory or the money. We do it for our students. And I think about teachers who impacted me growing up. And so, first of all, I want to thank LEC for doing this, for seeing us, who sometimes teachers who have not been visible. I think this is also important for me as an equity chair in my school to bring this to other groups that are not being represented in our school, because I think that, you know, you want to spill that good vibes to everyone, and that will make our school better. And we have other groups that don't have many teacher representation in our school. I mean, I think that we don't have any African American teachers right now in our school, and I think that maybe one, and I think that's a problem for our students in our school. So, you know, this was really a surprise. I was really humbled by it. And just to be in the company of the people that I am definitely lifts me, because this is you have helped me be part of a community that I didn't have really close to me. And now I feel like I can email you and we can talk. And there's teachers that I have known now through this who, I mean, that's a great gift they usually don't have. And so when we think about all the negatives of the pandemic, what a positive when we realized that we had technology to be able to bring our worlds together. And I want to say today, I show my students that little clip that was on CBS about the founder of Duolingo, who was from Guatemala.
Yes.
And so you have to see the kids who are sitting here who are from Guatemala, who had no idea of that, and they're Duolingo users. It was wonderful. It was great.
Oh my goodness. I'd love to share it.
It was great.
Wow. That is impactful. And you know, you are doing some great work over there. And I just in that short time from the first time that we spoke, like I follow you on social media, and the visibility, the acknowledgement is there. You know, data shows that Latinx representation in schools matters. Share a little bit more about the impact you see yourself having on your students. So you talked about it, you brought it up. Please share.
So I decided to revamp our Spanish club and invite as many students in the school, not something I don't even teach. So we have been doing a great things, great service work. We just did a Christmas tree for hospice where they painted all the ornaments, but it gives them a community after school to come in. We also did cards for a nursing home. I don't know if you can see it, but right here, I wrote a grant and got it. I have a garden tree where we're growing our Food for Equity lettuce for our Spanish club students to be able to take it home. And then how can we make that project even bigger in our community? So they're very excited over that. So I think that I've given them a bit of a sense of inclusion and a sense of taking part of things that usually they don't take part. You know, something our Latino, Latinx students have to leave for work. They have to take care of their siblings. So they're not able to participate in things in school. But sometimes when I make this part of my sort of Spanish club, sometimes even in class time, because, you know, that's a great SEL that we can do together. And I think that really matters to them. Also, when I think how many of them want to become educators and they have someone who's an educator, and I tell them, it was a struggle. It was not always easy. And some days they know they don't make it easy for me. but you come every day with a new sort of found purpose. And I think those things are important. I think representation, visibility, participation, being an advocate for our students, and that in hand makes them want to be a part of things. They want to advocate. They want to, they want to try things they didn't try before and feel like they're part of our school community.
Absolutely, and being a part of your class and having that experience of what did you call that? The garden tower?
The garden tower, yeah. So garden tower.
That's like
Cool.
if we could do this, you submitted a grant for this.
Yes, I'm growing
And they got it.
growing there my greens. And then they will get bigger, and then we'll think of the spring, what are we going to grow? Probably strawberries, because that's a favorite most. So we'll take a look and see what we're going to grow there in the spring. But right now it's yeah.
That is beautiful. And so it's like that first experience for them. That is super, super great. Congratulations, by the way.
Food is equity, so just to be take part of something that you're growing that you're going to share with your family. I think it's going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
It's in a very small stages, but it will grow pretty fast, I would say.
Oh yeah. Are you growing cilantro in there?
Not yet, but
okay.
So I have to grow the first greens that came with it, but then I'm able to get the pods that I can put in there that, according to what we vote. I think it should be like, what do you want to grow, in the next round,
For sure. Well, best of luck with that.
I'll keep you posted.
Yes, for sure. Oh, well, thank you. And I do have one more question. What keeps you going?
I think, connections like being a connector with LAC gets me going. Having this sort of community, learning new things. I'm a learner. I just finished a 6-week course called Teach for Equity. It was to the National Association of Teachers of the Year, and there was like 500 applicants, and they picked 20 some teachers, and I was lucky to be one of them. And that was an incredible, eye-opening and life-changing opportunity for me. And they've asked me to actually be one of the people who's going to teach it in the spring with them. So I was, I couldn't say no. But I felt like I learned so much because there's so much inequity that we don't see in our own biases. So it was really important to me for that course. So I constantly like to learn. That keeps me going. Doing lessons that matter, that are, sometimes our books are so outdated. So we have to, sort of think, how is this matter? How does this matter to them? I was talking to them about personal writing an email reply, and I immediately thought, well, let's talk about how Ecuador won that game, and the World Cup, because that's gonna. So I had to fit that into the writing, because then I wanted, I wanted to matter to them, and it did. They were all like, yeah, that was great.
Yes. And you teach AP courses, right?
I'll teach AP in the spring, language and culture. I brought the course here to the school in 2006, and I've been teaching since. I also grade the AP exam. So Spanish 4, I start bringing in different, tasks that are, so I'm starting to introduce this task. So when we move in January, where like they're not new to us, really should be a year course, but I have it for a semester. Yep.
Nice. Well, I am pretty sure your students love you. I know that there was much support lately for you, and I am so happy for you, because I also know from the seat of the world language, it's another intersection, right?
It is.
that we deal with, and not to say all districts do this, but in some districts, we're kind of like, well, you're not math and science, like you're not a tested subject until you throw this AP on there, or IB. I noticed that like some districts now say, okay, we have to prepare our students. What do you need? What resources do you need? How can we support you, right?
And there's still a lot of work to be done. I think that still world languages is looked as, just in some cases, not one of the, meat and potatoes school.
And some, sorry. It's not the meat.
No, it's not looked as one of those meat and potato courses in the school,
Right.
No, la frijoles y arroz. And so they put us in like, like, for example, I would have loved to go to an ACTFL. I've never been to one. And there's never food for that. Yeah. So maybe that's something that I will have to take up on myself,
I know that feeling. Definitely. I paid for probably in the last 12 years, 3 ACFLs and 2 locals. Because I was hungry. Like you said, I'm hungry for knowledge, hungry to learn. I was super hungry, and we didn't have instructional coaches. We didn't have a curriculum coach at the time. And so it was like, how do we teach Spanish to high school kids, right? Like, it was, and you weren't taught these things in your teaching prep programs. But what was I going to say about in some districts, I'm noticing in the Midwest, like where we're at, school districts are making it a 2-year requirement, and universities have a 2-year requirement, and then some are dropping it. Like that requirement is being dropped. So now these departments are getting smaller. If they can't fill the position, they don't offer it for students. And so if it's not a requirement, then there's like no active recruitment. And you could recruit teachers from like, there's an academy out here called the Foreign Language Academy, and they recruited teachers from Puerto Rico this summer. Like they went out there and they're like, hey, come teach in Kansas City. And so that effort and that investment is there when it's a requirement and a part of your curriculum. But when it's not, then they're like, okay, we'll offer another, a weightlifting class or art class, etc. So, but we know how
languages are so important. Just it's the way to have your mind open to other things and to learn other cultures and to just be, just it's something that it will be so useful. So I think that I think we're moving in the right directions, but we just need people to go out there and fight the battle. And that's what I feel I am in my career. I'm more feeling that this is a time to advocate for the things for my students, for the right things, just like we got that bill passed in Maryland for AP. So I think that's important.
That's awesome. That's so amazing. Congratulations again. At 25%, right? 25% of your students are heritage speakers.
Right now we have about a quarter of them, and I have in my classes that I teach every day, I have only 3 students who are not heritage speakers.
Wow. Look at that. Look at that. Well, way to go. Keep it up. We're here alongside you. Te acompañamos siempre.
Gracias.
Cualquier cosa. And best of luck. Best of luck on this nomination.
Thank you.
Cuídate mucho y nos vemos pronto.
Saludos a todos. Muchas gracias, Delia. Chao.
Ay, de nada, de nada. Adiós, Alicia Community. Have a good one.
Yeah!